city of Mount Vernon for the past 4 administrations, 15 years. Never, ever have I had a problem getting paid. We did the work, submitted an invoice, the work was inspected, the work was in order, I've been paid. At this time, it is a hardship upon myself, my family, and my employees. My employees are all in the city of Mount Vernon. They all reside in the city of Mount Vernon, they pay taxes in the city of Mount Vernon, and they're employed by me. So I appeal to you, okay, that if you could appeal to the controller so that we may be paid. This has never happened before. We don't know the rules of engagement, okay? The rules of engagement has changed as of this point. I know there's a new controller, but we've been paid in January for work, and all of a sudden after January, the rules of engagement has changed. I appealed to DPW because a city official from the city of Mount Vernon had called in or emailed, okay, a work order to be performed by our company for emergency services. Okay, whether it be smoke damage that was damaged here in this particular building, whether it was a sewage cleanup that happened in a building in the fire department headquarters, where the fire department was living with sewage for quite some time, and they appealed to me to please to come there to clean it up, and we did, and we did not deny the city of Mount Vernon, but we were promised that we would be paid. Okay, so as of this day today, okay, right now we're owed over $40,000, and we need you and we need your help, okay, to be paid. We need to be made whole. We have real dollars that are laid out. Our labor has been paid. Our vendors have been paid. All of our equipment, okay, that has been used has been paid. So I appeal to you and I appeal to the council members to please help us with the city controller so our company can be paid. I know I'm not the only one that has not been paid, but I'm here on behalf of myself, my family, and my employees. So I'm throwing it out to the council to please help me. Thank you for your time. I also would like to submit this to the council as well as a letter to be read for the record. Thank you. George, did you have to give it to I am sure. I'm sorry, I did not know. I submitted this to them. Okay. For the record, I submitted this to the city clerk, George Brown, on April 16th, which was stamped on April 16th to be read. Magna Cleaning and Restoration has been conducting business with the city of Mount Vernon for emergency service cleanups for over 15 plus years. In addition, the Carpenter Pouring has been installing flooring for the same period of time. We have prided ourselves in providing the city of Mount Vernon with great services and products. We've always been paid for the work we've been provided. Until recently, the current controller has not paid us, causing the city to be in arrears for $40,000, which is absurd. The work was scheduled with our office by a city of Mount Vernon official. We provided the service to the city and submitted all invoices on time once the work was completed. As a result, we expected to be paid in full for the work. I need your help to get paid. My business is located in Mount Vernon. My family lives in Mount Vernon. My employees live in Mount Vernon. Not being paid for our services is now causing an extreme hardship for myself, my family, my business, and my employees. Thank you for your time and your consideration. Thank you.
Guy Schumann.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me speak here. My name is Guy Schwab. I purchased a commercial building in Mount Vernon at 160 West 3rd Street, December 2016. I moved my business into that part of it. The other section I rented out to a tenant. About July of 2018, there was a sewer backup into the basement of the area where my tenant was renting. The backup filled the basement with about 4 feet of sewage. As you can imagine, in the heat of summer, that smell was pretty horrendous. I could smell it from about 2 blocks away when there was no wind. By the end of October, 3.5 months after this first happened, DPW finally cleared the blockage. And a week or 2 later, they sent Magnadrite over to clean the remnants of the solid waste that was left behind. Magnadrite did a fantastic job, but during this process, I lost a tenant, I lost 5 months' rent. I had to send my employees home for most of or part of the worst smelling days. That in itself was a loss. After this debacle, I decided to upgrade the basement, the drainage system. I painted it, generally improved the unit so that I could rent to the next tenant. When I was done, I got a tenant pretty fast. The contract went out. The day after the contract went out, I went into the unit to find 4 feet of sewage in my basement again. This was back in February. I contacted DPW by April 1st, so about 2 months later, the basement was drained. We're now April 25th, and I still have a good couple of inches of solid waste sitting in my basement, and coating the walls up to about 4 feet high. I have some pictures I'd like to pass around just so that you can see.
Are these pictures for the council?
Yes. Yeah, I have them in, they're all yours. I've tried to contact the Commissioner of DPW almost every day since April 1st and never got through. I left messages on the answer phone and with the secretary. I since found out the city has not been paying Magnadrite, as you heard this evening, for a while, and Magnadrite can't afford to do any further work for them. I just don't know where that leaves me and what to do with this, because I can't contact anyone and nobody will speak to me. So really what I'd like to know is what can be done and when my basement is going to be clear of the sewage that was pumped into it by the city. That's it. Thank you very much.
Stefan Ritter.
Peace and blessings. Stefan Ritter, 252 Garden Avenue, originally from 241 South 9th Avenue, Vernon, New York. New York State. I have here, right here, this is Ritter versus the town and the City Board of Elections. The town and the City Board of Elections with the mayor, Richard Thomas, Reggie Lafayette, New York City officials, and a town and a state of Mount Vernon, New York. I'm coming to you, as I always do, saying to you all, how can you consider yourself as a council board members if the mayor been indicted since 2016 and nothing has been done, but he goes in front of a judge who's a family court judge, mayor. He's a 10-year family court judge. He's not even a criminal judge. So how are y'all looking out for a community if this is an indictment from stealing and robbing from the community? And then you have a controller who's protecting the money so that he can't continue to steal it. And all of y'all are against the controller. But this is for a free government that you're not representing us that are the independent, that are here, that belong with these funds in which they're trying to steal. Only one truck was ran with brakes done, but she showed and proved that she paid with other paperwork. But what I'm trying to get to is that I'm the one that should be representing the independent party that should be on this land right here because we are a federal state. And I keep continuing to tell you, I am a 2-time New York State Federation champion. 2 times for Mount Vernon High School. So when you bring a city to a town that's supposed to hold 68,000 people, and here you have over 120, and you keep knocking down buildings, and disrespecting us who are the original people from this land. These people come from all of their own land, and they don't even have a citizenship in their own land. But they here trying to represent me, and they don't even speak the language or live the way we live. Our foundation is the most important thing that's within every soul. So even you have 500 churches, and you're not getting tax money or anything from that. So you have to consider the fact that you don't know what you're doing on this state, federal, private property that belongs to us. And if you want to consider a city trying to move here, and if you look at police badges on his arm, it teaches you that in 1853 to 1892, they already came with that city credit. So the mayor is a slave to Spezio, as Spezio is the one who's reconciled, or he's the one that's making calls for all of y'all, and y'all not even doing nothing about it. For us as a people who live here, who's from here, who represent here. I went away to 3 different colleges, came back, general from the United States Marine Corps. I come back with honors, I come back respectable, and then I run a RLR, Children on the Move. I stop. You see the crime has stopped, and you're trying to take the credit as if you were the one doing it. When I came here and took all of the children off the street and put them into programs, cut the senior citizen hair, giving them back haircuts, free haircuts every week, making sure that the families are saving over $1,500 a month. Now I'm running for a candidate of a mayor, and then you have Reggie Lafayette, who's been here for 25, 30 years. You got all of these crazy people in the way that's not even from Mount Vernon, or representing the people that are from Mount Vernon. And so I come to represent these people, our people. So if you want to consider this as what was going on at one side of town, we had our own police, we had our own everything here. And we didn't even have to worry so much about them. But if you did something to a Caucasian or a white man, and you are afraid of them, well, they taught me how to swim, they taught me how to kill with my bare hands, they taught me everything, math, science, English, home economics, electrical engineer. They didn't do no harm to me or our people here. But the people who are complaining about them, they might have did that because you was trying to disrespect the land. And that's what I represent. And I come here again as in peace, and I'm going to leave in peace as I came, as peace and blessings. And we got to do something about it. He's been indicted since 2016. Get rid of him.
Thank you. Erwin Billy.
Good evening, Erwin Billy, 157 Howard Avenue, Mount Vernon, New York.
Just a minute, Mr. Billy, please. I don't want to waste your time. Stop the clock, please. Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry about that, Mr. Billy.
I would like to just talk about the abuse of power that everybody's, sick and tired of. It seems like the mayor has had it in his mind that he's going to unilaterally run the city government. People complain about not getting paid for bills, but there's a procedure that, needs to be adhered to. And he has discounted the city council. He has, created bills that I don't think the comptroller's budget can, handle. He creates problems with the federal government, and now that the city council wants to resolve those problems through funds in the DPW, he wants to veto the bill. When we look at the URA that he controls alone, he does not audit his own agency. But when I look into the past, I see this sort of city councilman that wants to have certain dialogue with people who haven't gotten paid for this or that. And I notice that these people come here and they complain about not being paid, but we don't see them in the next city council meeting. The contracts without the approval of the city council. Then the bill goes to the comptroller. But the comptroller cannot pay those bills because it was not ratified by the city council. And he continues to go around the procedure. He's done it at Moore Field. He's done it with the abandoned houses. And I can tell you all this because I've been coming to these city council meetings. He is, you know, like, I don't know what type of fool or idiot. But I'm just baffled. You know, like the power is, they're drunk by the power. I see Ray Lafayette. He threw Johanna Edwards off the ballot for city council. And he put Clyde Isley on the ballot. Clyde Isley lost. Dale Farquharson won. She beat the pants off him. He came in last place. Now what do we see? We see Clyde Isley running for mayor when he couldn't even win a city council race. What is going on with Dale Farquharson? We see the Democratic boss, who's also the election boss, Reggie Lafayette. He, for some reason, feels that Daley shouldn't be on the ticket. Now, who's on the ticket? Clyde Isley. I don't see the man anywhere. He's not been in local politics in now 20 years. I see him on Facebook at these parties with the city council president, Andre Wallace. I see him with Reggie Lafayette. I just don't see him in the city of Mount Vernon. So I want to know, at what point is the council going to stand up and say, all right, why doesn't the mayor order his URA? You keep complaining about the controller is not paying this and that. Will allow her to borrow the money through a low interest loan, which she cannot do because our bond rating has been taken away or reduced. And it's the same old thing. And I don't see any city council members having any type of, meetings with the press to talk about any of these things, but they will get up there and, support people who have not been paid for this or that. Those people must have been paid. Chantel Carter has come in. She's not here this city council meeting. I suppose that the people from the Razorbacks got their money. Maybe you can, and somebody can tell me whether they got their money or not. Whether the federal subsidies for these landlords were paid or not.
Yes.
And we need to, one last thing, we need to update us when these people come in and complain and give us a flowing record. Like, oh yeah, these people got their money. They was here 2 weeks ago complaining, they got their money.
I just see Kristen Lee.
Good evening, Your Honor. Body Kristen Reed, Director of the Mount Vernon Veteran Service Agency. I'm here tonight to respond to an inquiry about data for the department. My department chair asked me, so I'm producing the data that was requested of me. According to the last census, the city of Mount Vernon has anywhere between 1,782 and about 2,000 living veterans. That does not include the widows or widowers of veterans or the eligible family members that are also served. The walk-in traffic and phone calls and the intensity and time spent on each veteran independent varies with the circumstances and needs of each client. As you know, veteran services, according to New York State, is a social and economic service. So depending on what somebody comes in for, that will determine the need and the time. On average, we get upwards of 100 phone calls per month. Those are all answered by myself. Any visitors would be skewed right now because it's really, there's an inability to tell how many people are visiting the office when I'm not in there due to meetings, outreach, scheduled events, or if I'm in with another veteran and somebody comes and doesn't want to leave a message. So it's kind of hard to tell because of the intermittent closure. Some people come and they stop coming because the door is off, the light is off. Additionally, the light in the lobby is on a sensor. So when I'm in my office, in the inside, the light in the lobby will turn off without any activity. So sometimes people come there and I keep the door locked for safety and they will leave because they think no one is there. Contrary to the other departments that have designated account clerks, secretaries, reception clerks, and laborers, I perform all administrative duties, accounting, forecasting, strategic planning, scheduling, customer service, grant writing, case management, outreach, legislation, reporting, event coordination, mail merging, correspondence, graphics, registration, technical writing, establishment of policies and procedures, reporting, database creation, files management, and physically set up all the ceremonies. So those are the duties of myself as the sole employee. More importantly is that I know there is kind of this notion that somehow some of the appointees are here to get rich and leave the city. As you all know, I'm born and raised in Mount Vernon. My goal, to be honest, is to return to Florida, where my husband is from and where we lived for 12 years. Both of my children were born down there. My intention is not to stay here in the city for 10 years. My intention is to make this department better and make it into a real department. Prior to my employment, I know that there are rumors that it was fine down there. It was not. $25,000 in grant funding that is automatic when unclaimed because somebody didn't fill out a simple form. My goal is to try to elevate this department into a real department, one that is respected throughout the county and provides the services that are mandated by the charter, and that there is continuity of services, and that with the voluntarily or involuntarily unemployment of the director, all the services don't come to a stop. Accreditation training is offered only once a year, which means that if somebody left right after accreditation training, the office would not be accredited again for another year. And I think that is important. I heard Mr. Irwin's remarks. I think it's also important that the council take an opportunity in their remarks to clarify some of the misunderstandings of the public. Last time I was here and I did speak about my salary, it was stated, well, of course there's no money, they're spending it on lawsuits. That is not true. Money for the veterans is earmarked from New York State. It cannot be spent on lawsuits. It cannot be spent anywhere but to the service of veterans. And I think it's important that the public, if they're making statements, that it's corrected or they're led in the right way to find the right information. There are a lot of lawsuits going on for a lot of reasons. The other thing is that an assistant would be a return on investment for the department. If we can start documenting the services more efficiently, then we can show where Scarsdale, Eastchester, all of our neighboring communities without a veteran service agency are coming here. And then we can probably enter into a memorandum of understanding where they pay, even if it's a small amount, to us it is huge, because they do not have to cover the cost of the employee. And I apologize if I go on a little bit longer. Basically, as a social worker, like my department chair, I am data-driven. And also as a social worker, I understand the need for vulnerable populations to be served. Last week, 2 veterans went to 2 different veterans agencies, hospitals, and committed suicide in a lobby full of people. This is a vulnerable population, and the biggest, what am I trying to say? The biggest variable is frustration with delivery of services. We cannot keep going this way. Last year, when I was out for 2 weeks, the office was closed for 2 weeks. A veteran should not be expected as one to come in and speak to a young child about their experiences, nor should they turn over personal information to at-risk populations that are in our office trying to get job skills. They can help, but they need to be supervised by a full-time, dedicated person. And that person is necessary to make sure that the Veteran Service Agency serves the population it's supposed to within the guidelines of the charter as it was established. I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Glenn Harrison.
Good evening, council, people in attendance. Glenn Harris, 629 South Avenue, Mount Vernon. The speakers before me have touched on a couple of things that maybe I want to change my script in regards to addressing the fact that the inadequacies and stupidity of the Richard Thomas administration. When we talk about overdue things and people not getting paid correctly, I think the one thing that we have to assess is somebody who's been in office as long as he has been, with the supporting cast of people that say that they're smart, bright, and brilliant, but these idiots can't even write a damn grant. When all you have you can't write a grant, but all they have to do is look under us.gov and scroll down, and there is visual instructions on how to write a grant. And Moody's dropped us down to 0, and they told us in advance they were going to do it because the stupid mayor and the people who support his ignorance cannot even formulate to sit down and form a three-party person to present assets and liabilities when you have to beg hand in hand to the state and the federal government to get the monies that support and help you stay functional. But this idiot is still sitting there scratching himself like the dumbass he is because he can't think. And here's the thing about not thinking. You lie on everybody else. There's an indictment against the controller, there's an indictment against you folks, but this idiot is still sitting there dumbfounded and stupid. He was elected to come in to bring new and fresh ideas and get rid of the old ways. God damn, we miss the old ways.
Mr. Viewers, we have children also in court.
Excuse me, folks, I'm sorry about my language. It's aggravating, Mr. Brown, that we sit here and we're stupefied by Moody's kicked us in our pants. We are the dumb kid in kindergarten who failed blocks. Parents come in, they train up the kindergarten teachers, but they never just the fact that their child is just that stupid because they didn't get home training. We have a mayor who has put us in dire straits. People are coming in about matters of getting paid because the mayor is sitting there blocking your ability to get paid. We have to indict the true people here, Mount Vernon. We have been failed. We are charging taxes, but yet there's the stupidity that I witnessed on Sanford Boulevard this week where kids are riding, or grown men are riding dirt bikes up and down the block, up and down the street. And I called the police department and they're telling me they've been restrained from stopping them because they don't want to chase them, but it doesn't address the fact the guy's riding a dirt bike. I mean, he's doing handstands in front of a bus, and nobody thinks that he's going to either cause the bus to crash, run up and kill kids running across the street, but no, we're under restraint. And Moody's had a right to lower us down to 0 because we're in an inept, incompetent government. We have people coming in here and wanting secretaries to be for them. They're petitioning that they can't share a secretary because they want raises. Only thing I've been hearing now is the inept ability to work as a functional government by a man and the associates that work for him that are blinding in their stupidity. That even addresses the matter about Memorial Field. When I inquired to that group, who's going to pick up the bill for the removal of the dirt? And yet again, the default mechanism, the taxpayers. We always pay for everything that's done wrong by any dummy sitting there who can't count 1 and 2. But yet Mr. Griffin is sitting right here who's accredited, and the mayor won't even approach him about helping him correctly, line by line, itemize what are our liabilities and how do we get funds, because he's looking for people to come in to help rob us blind because they're an accredited accounting firm. How do we get past him? He's a city council member. He's been here. We know who he is, and he knows we could count. All you have to do is sit him down with the controller, and you'll come up with great presentations to give to Moody so we get out of 0. But this crash and burn dummy sits there year in and year out, and all he does is the same lying nonsense. That's because people are in love with a pretty face, or the pretty boy smile, the quick eloquent statements, but you don't check the fact that he's an empty suit.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
He's a Republican.
Was Mr. Singleton?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ricardo Singleton.
Yes, sir.
Should make a man just.
Sure. My name is Ricardo Singleton. I'm 517 South 7th Avenue, Mount Vernon, New York. I wanted to thank the committee, council clerk, for allowing me to speak tonight. As the chairman of the Central Committee of Veterans Affairs, Mount Vernon, New York, I want to go on record as supporting Mount Vernon Commissioner of Veterans Affairs, Ms. Christine Reed. The commissioner has not been able to work effectively in her capacity as Commissioner of Veterans Affairs. For about 2 years, during which time she has organized her office to help the veterans of Mount Vernon There are approximately 2,000 veterans in Mount Vernon that is a lot of people to service as a one-woman office, which the commissioner is currently doing. The commissioner's duties require a lot of individual time with the veterans to help them with their benefits. In doing her job with veterans, she is unable to manage her other duties to run her office. The answer to the problem is to hire an assistant to assist her in her daily duties. It is the job of the city government to provide its workers with the resources needed to do their jobs successfully. The president of the city council stated in front of me and other people of my group that there was an assistant position put into the budget. Why was that position taken out of the budget? And how do we put it back in the budget? If this issue is resolved, you will be helping a veteran not commit suicide. I am now 100% disabled by the Veterans Administration, which it took me 6 years to achieve. Or I might be one of those vulnerable veterans that took their life. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Dolores Mack. Dolores Mack. Dolores Mack. Okay, that concludes our speaking session. Now we will have a response from our council members, starting with Councilwoman Fox.
Thank you, Council President. Let me say good evening to the community, and thank you for your participation in this process, which is, an affirmation of our democracy, that you have the opportunity to come and speak to us, to address us as your elected representatives. Mr. Burns, it's good to see you again, sir. I look forward to finding out when the vouchers were last submitted to the Comptroller's office. I agree with you that you deserve to be paid for the work that has been done, and I'm sure Councilwoman Duarte, who's the committee chair, will be making every effort that she can to expedite that process. So I hope it's resolved quickly. Mr. Shmoo, I'm so sorry for your experience. I've experienced the smell of it on 4th Avenue, in the middle of the block. It's really dreadful, when it cracks up. So again, I too hope that if this matter is resolved, then your issue can be resolved, I believe, as well. If you can pay Magna, then perhaps they can get to cleaning up your basement faster. So, I will direct positive energy towards that outcome. Mr. Ritter, thank you for your comments as always, for being here. I agree with many of the things that you said, so I thank you for sharing. Mr. Billy, you raised really good questions about how our government is functioning. I thank you for acknowledging some of the experiences that I'm going through. And, I think it's important that these questions are asked, that the audit for the URA is something that needs to be done. It's related to what Mr. Harris said about our bond rating. So all of these issues are connected to how our government is functioning. And we are being held, for want of a better word, ransom to what's going on. So, Miss Reed, Director Reed, so thank you for providing me some information. I'd love to see that in writing, and I would have preferred to have sat down with you to go over the data. I'm still interested to know, how many people do you see? Because we can extrapolate from that. What percentage of them might go elsewhere. So I'm still interested in seeing that. I think it's important, and I understand that you're making a strong case for wanting an assistant. It's not in the budget, as far as we know, but what I'd like to see is how are we serving, who are we serving, and where there are opportunities. So I hear you. I really look forward to the opportunity to sit down with you again soon. And so I'm sure we'll connect in email so we can do that. Mr. Singleton, the same for you. I take the issue of suicide very seriously. As a licensed clinical social worker, dealing with people who have mental health conditions, and the fact that suicide is on the rise in our society, particularly among children, it's a serious issue. And that's the last thing that I would want to see happen. I'm grateful that we have not heard of any of our veterans here taking that action recently. But it's something that needs to be proactively addressed. The fact is that we are in a time of limited resources, and I believe sincerely that how our resources are distributed needs to be justified. I really do believe that. So again, I look forward to really going through the information and understanding for myself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Copeland.
Thank you very much. Good evening to everyone who came out this evening. Let me respond first. Director Reed, thank you for coming. Yesterday we had a very unplanned, long discussion. Well, I listened, which has become my charge these days, to listen. And thank you for coming with the information. I again want to reiterate for the record, when the Civil Defense Department moved out of City Hall and moved into the Fire Department, the body who was answering phones for both parties was gone. So historically, there's always been someone in that office. There's always been an administrative assistant, someone to help with the kind of trafficking and dealing. Only when that department moved to the Fire Department, which, since it is emergency services, it makes sense because the majority of the emergencies that happen are usually fire-related, the majority, not all. But thank you again for coming out, you as well, Mr. Singleton. And it definitely is it's a concern. And while we balance the ways and needs of a challenging budget season, we still want to be able to serve our community the best we can. And I think all of us here would agree to that. And that's for all departments, contrary to some emails and things you say, things that are put out about us. This council does everything in its power to try to get all the services that we can within the constraints that we have. But again, we're the legislative body and we pass it on. You hate to keep saying it, but it's the reality. We go, we send emails, the document, we're trying to, all the things that come up here at these meetings, we do follow up right away. Sometimes we email while we're here, or texting a person about the situation, even here. So I want you to know that we hear you and we are doing that. In terms of, those motorbikes, this comes up every time the weather gets warm. And it's difficult because if they chase them, I understand what the police are saying and I also understand what the residents are saying. But how those bikes move, and it's a really dangerous situation. And even for the cops cutting, I can see how it's definitely a public safety issue that I will follow up with the commissioner on tomorrow, but to see how we rectify it and the weather's getting warmer and we don't want, God forbid, something tragic does happen. So thank you for bringing it. And I do, every time down, I've seen them coming up 6th Avenue, going downstairs and racing up 6th Avenue from the 7th block. What else do I want to say? Thank you, Mr. Billy and Mr. Ritter. In this country, we have a thing called due process. And as I understand, as attorneys change, then sometimes the process, we wonder why it's taking so long, but if you have a different attorney, even from my law and order days, which I love, you get the new attorney has a chance to go back and start, they have to be caught up to speed, and that's the delay, everyone is entitled to due process, and unfortunately, it's, you know, it's taken a long time. But that's what this country was founded on, and, you know, I support that. Thank you, Mr. Ritter, I know. 2-time state champ. And also, Mr. Burns, you came last night, we did want you to speak on the record, and I'm sure Councilman Martin will follow up on that as well as all of us. It's been some difficulty, sometimes we have to go back, and we do go 2 or 3 times with the bills, but we will push forward, so because Mr. Schimmel shouldn't have to live like, I mean, I just looking at it is, and there have been some other backup, I mean, that's one, but there's a couple other around the city that are also, and you've done good work. We never, in all the years, I don't recall one complaint against your company. So thank you for coming and putting it on the record, and we will push forward. That's all I have to say. Thank you all. You had a blessed Easter, and happy, what's the, huh? Oh, did I? Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Copeland. Councilwoman Duarte.
Thank you, Council President. Just want to acknowledge everyone here. Thank you for coming out. Thank you, Jimmy Pessin, for again being here and putting this on Facebook for us, and to all those that are watching us. I'm just going to start, Mr. Burns. Thank you for coming and speaking on the record and sharing your concerns and the issues that you're experiencing with your dealings with the city. Also, thank you for providing copies of those vouchers and those invoices, as well as your letter. That will, the clerk will make sure that all of the council members have copies, as well as putting it into our referral packet so that it's part of the record. And then once I have my set of copies, I will follow up with DPW Commissioner and do what we can to resubmit the vouchers in hopes that a resubmission is to follows what the comptroller asks of us, and hopefully that satisfies her enough to fulfill and make you whole in the services that you have already provided to the city. Thank you for being a member of this community, not only as a resident taxpayer, but as a business person and to your employees. You are an example of what the good residents of this community do. They work hard, they contribute to this community, and you provide a great value and service to us, to all of us. So thank you. Mr. Schmoll, I'm certainly sorry to hear about your situation, not only for the first time, but the misfortune of having it happen again after you just completed your renovations. Again, as I follow up on behalf of Mr. Burns, I will follow up on your behalf with DPW and have them try to communicate with you. And if you stay during the break, if I can get your phone number, to make sure that the communication does connect. Director Reed, as always, I thank you for your service to this country and your service to the community and your mission really to elevate the Office of Veteran Services, not only for the Mount Vernon community, but for the county. And Mount Vernon has always taken the lead. We have a history of taking the lead on a number of things, and certainly would be wonderful to see the Veteran Services exemplify that lead once again. And Mr. Singleton, is it Colonel Lieutenant?
Lieutenant.
I'm sorry?
Lieutenant Colonel.
Lieutenant Colonel, sorry. Thank you for your service to this country and for your service to the community as you serve as a chairman to the board, the Veterans Board here locally, for working with our Director of Veteran Services and continue. It's that kind of partnership that really allows us to to you both. And Mr. Billy, thank you for your comments. You always provide insightful comments and discrepancies and concerns that you see and that you observe. Yes, there is a process. We've observed in many instances where the process is not followed, or the attempt is to redefine the process without properly going through the legitimate way to do that. And it's a challenge. It definitely poses a challenge, and this is the environment that we have currently in the city. And it is a reflection of the breakdown of that process and an unwillingness on the part of some members of this government to not honor and follow it. So yes, it is a challenge. It's something we face all the time. It's a work in progress in terms of how we can approach it and how we can address it effectively without trying to make it worse. And also, I think to answer your question with regards to the HUD funds, the federal funds, at the last meeting, I believe that those funds were transferred, and that the landlords have been made whole, and that the other recipients of those grant monies have been made whole.
Yeah, this is done the next
Correct.
day.
With regards to the URA audit, I believe that there is progress on the closing of the books. I believe that, I should pose that question to my colleagues. I think there is progress on the closing of the URA books, or there's, so while it's not complete, it's underway, if that's correct in my understanding.
If I may, the URA books have pretty much been underway. It should be closed hopefully by this Friday, so we can move on to the next stage of the audit process. To make sure that once we finish the audit, we can submit it and work on getting our rating back to the city.
So hopefully that addresses those concerns there. And again, we're working slowly, it seems, but we're making some progress, which is positive. I do want to address something you said, which was in regards to legislation the council adopted to match the grant for the sewer repairs. And yes, I'm disappointed and dismayed that the mayor chose to veto that legislation. The council really takes seriously our responsibility to this community, and we feel that the legislation we adopted protects the city and complies with our duty not only to the residents but also with our compliance to the Department of Justice and the EPA. That override veto is on the agenda tonight. I have more comments for when we review the legislation, but I just want to thank my colleagues publicly for your support, because we unanimously passed that legislation, and I believe that it really reflects what we need to be compliant. It's our duty to the community, but it was also our responsibility and obligations to the federal government. And Harris, you made a statement I just wanted to clarify. You said that the city council is indicted and the comptroller is indicted. And I just wanted to clarify that. I don't know if that was just misspeaking, because the city council is not indicted on any charges. I just want to be clear. And to my knowledge, nor is the comptroller. Yes, there's a lot of lawsuits, but there isn't any actual indictment.
That was a mistake.
So I just wanted to clarify. I believe it was a misstatement on your part. Just wanted to clarify that for the record. As we all know, it's publicly known that that is not the case with the mayor. But in stark contrast, the other bodies of government do not have that on our record. That concludes my remarks for tonight, and thank you for wanting to help us.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Burns.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not going to take long. First, I'm going to say a little bit to Mr. Burns. Thank you for your service. I've known you for about 10 years now. I think you've always done good work, and we respect you and your business in Mount Vernon. So, as much as I would love you to be paid swiftly, you're not the only one that has this type of payment delay problem. So hopefully we can work out this detail sooner than later so we can continue to serve our community. And for Mr. Schul, thank you, sir. I'm sorry to hear that you had a sewage backup. I know that just sounds horrible to have 4 feet of sewage backing up into your basement. It's just unbelievable for that to happen to you. But I'm glad we did have Mr. Burns there to help you clean it up. And I'm glad to hear that you have a reference to say that he did do good work, so we appreciate that. I think one of the good things is that DPW recognized that it was the city's error, and that we did get Mr. Burns to come in and help you out with that and to get it done. So at least we got that right. We just need to get the payments right, and I think eventually we will. I know how difficult it is. That's why I'm trying not to react, but we've heard this before. But quite honestly, council people don't get our vouchers paid either, and it's a struggle. So I'm with you in that pain. All right. Mr. Ritter, thank you, sir, for coming out. Mr. Billy, I know you said a lot, and you said a lot of things very correctly. I wrote down here the abuse of power, and that's absolutely correct. We're seeing it. I was at the Sustainable Energy Conference today, and there's a lot of things Mount Vernon could be doing to save the residents a tremendous amount of money as far as our energy costs, our heating and cooling costs. And there's a lot of things that we should be proactive on, especially for this poorer community. There are communities that will pay a premium to save money down the line. And this community just doesn't have that leverage. We just don't have that luxury of being able to do that. But there are some things that we can do legislatively, and this council will jump on that if we could. The real problem in Mount Vernon is that we don't have the administration backing us up on the things that we could be doing. And that goes with the controller as well. We've had issues with this controller getting things done that this community needs financially. And we definitely have problems with the mayor's office. And it's disturbing. I literally tell people don't bother to deal with Mount Vernon until 2020. But I hope that there is a shift in our administration. Because it's just not worth it for people to invest their money or their time into nothing happening. And it's just not good. We have a great reputation because of our physical assets. But the administration that's going on right now is quite frankly deplorable. And I don't expect anybody to give any preference to this council either, because we get dragged into the melee as well. So I try to stay above the board and be as honest as possible and let people know what I truly think. And it confirms what they're thinking, but at least it gives some credibility to the city that we understand that we're in a difficult time. And I just hope we are able to get out of it. Mrs. Reed, thank you so much. I've always complimented you with your excellent work ethic. I wish we had, again, a better administration, and I include the controller's operations as well, so we can move forward to do better service to our veterans. We had a gentleman in speaking to the council earlier this week, and as soon as he left, I said, that generation is gone. We just aren't creating people like that anymore. So, Mr. Singleton, good to see you again. I know you are highly decorated. It's an honor to have you as a resident, and I'm glad that you're here supporting Mrs. Reed and the service and all the veterans. I have on my watch list on Netflix the World War II documentary that Ken Burns did, and I have to really take my time and watch it because each episode is a movie. It's 2 hours. So it's not something you can just take lightly. I have to have dedicated time to pay attention to that generation of sacrifice. And our Vietnam veterans is a separate understanding and learning and dedication that people of my age who had the benefit of not having a world war happening. And I missed being recruited or drafted. We had a gentleman that said that he knew he was going to be drafted, so he enlisted. So these are things that I have the luxury of not having to have to do. So I highly respect the people that served in our country, including Mrs. Reed and all the veterans, our Councilman Yana Edwards and such. So I don't take it lightly at all, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for good people like you. So thank you. Thank you both. Mr. Harris, thank you very much. We've had side conversations where we see each other outside of the city. I think we actually had better discussions when we're not in the city of Mount Vernon, we're talking offline. Yes, and thank you for your confidence in my accounting work. People don't understand how much work I've done in the financial field and how much dedication I have when it comes to the city's finances. It really disturbs me that we don't have a bond rating any longer. It's just not good for an excellent city like this. We used to have a AA bond rating, which was the highest. We never had a problem borrowing funds. This is our worst time ever. And I pray, again, in 2020, we work our way out of this so that we can continue to do some of the funding that we need to do. And with that, I just want to go quickly back to the Sustainable Energy Conference that I went to today. We are an oil-dependent city. I believe that us as a city, we did not convert the oil to gas as many other more financially secure cities have done. So a lot of oil trucks are delivering a lot of oil to us. And that may not be bad, but it just shows that we are not ahead of the game. So we have an opportunity to jump from oil to air pumps and water pumps that would save us a tremendous amount of money. And there's a way to do it that we can co-op to get it done, not have every one person do it. And we need to do that because these heating costs are killing us. And we have old housing stock that needs to be better insulated even before we do the conversions to new heating equipment. I'm talking cutting 60% off of our heating costs in the city of Mount Vernon. It has to be done. And we can't do it individually. We really need to have the city as a major partner legislatively and through the administration to get it done. And there's many ways we can do it. And other communities are doing it. New York City is doing it. We cannot be left behind because our dollars will be wasted. We'll be wondering, right now, people are complaining about their taxes right now. Homeowners are complaining about what they can't write off on their taxes. But one of the problems is that you can't write off your taxes, but you also can't afford to heat your home. And our houses are falling apart because we're not able to paint them, we're not able to maintain them, because we're just trying to keep warm. So this is an opportunity for us to get a sustainable energy plan in place so that we can cut our costs probably more than half. And it has to be done. So I'm going to come back with my bags and bags of information that I collected. I'm going to bring it to the council. Councilwoman Ferguson brought up a sustainable committee that we need to work on. We have people in this community that are retired that want to do something. This is a great opportunity to get them involved to do that. We have to do it, especially since we have a sewer situation where we may have to open up our streets for sewers. We may want to put some geothermal lines in the sewer lines to absorb some of that heat from our sewer lines. There's so many things we can do. Mount Vernon is prime for being the leader in this, and we just have to do it. And it's important that we do, because if we don't, we're going to be totally left behind. So with that, thank you. God bless you all. God bless the city of Mount Vernon.
Thank you, Councilman Griffin. I'm going to be short because everybody, all the council members touched on everything. Okay.
Proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Burns, thank you for coming out. We know what the problem is. We're going to work expeditiously to make sure that we do everything we can to get this matter solved and get you paid. Because it affects a lot of people. It affects Mr. Chanel right behind you and several other people that will have backups. and we won't have a way to clean this stuff out. So we need you to be whole so that you could continue on doing the work in the city and for the city, for our issues that may come up. I know exactly, Mr. Smell, how and what you're going through, because about a year and a half, one of my buildings were backed up with a foot of stuff. And, you know, I had the same problem with the sewer system, and DPW had to come, but Magna Dry came and cleaned out my basement for me too, and it was a process, you know. So I was lucky to do that, but how I was able to, they got paid. I mean, it didn't come through the city, so I wasn't going to wait for that, but unfortunately, not everybody has that option. But yes, I know that's a major problem in our city. We have a lot of things to do with our sewers. That is why I'm a little disappointed also, echoing Councilwoman Duarte, because she did a lot of work to put together funding to fund this situation with the sewers and to make sure that we can draw down and get the extra $1.6 million so that our sewers can be worked on. So I thank her for her work. She took time to do that and put it together. It's something we voted on to be vetoed. After the mayor is saying that he is so for the sewers getting done. So we will work on that. Stefan Ritter, thank you again for coming out. It was a pleasure to see you. With Billy, as Councilwoman Duarte had said, and as we spoke about, the urban renewal books are being worked on. They should be closed hopefully by this Friday. Maybe next time we come here, we will have an update on that and when the audit starts. Glenn Harris, always a pleasure to see you. It's the same thing with the books. We are working on the books. So that is moving forward. Christian Reed and Mr. Singleton. Yes, I did talk about the having a secretary in there. We did push to put that in there. It was in there, and then mysteriously disappeared. So there are things that have to be done, and we got to find new ways to get it. Like we all said, the controller's budget we wasn't happy with, as well as the mayor's budget we wasn't happy with. But to work on what your issue was with that disappearing would have delayed everything, which we could not afford to do with the city in crisis at that time. But we will continue to find a way to kind of put something together. I know Councilwoman Copeland mentioned that too, and how there was someone there before, but moving the departments. Maybe we can revisit that, see how we can do something with that. And I see also Miss Lambert is here, and her daughter. We had spoke, and I just wanted to put this on record and briefly update the council as well. She also had a sewer problem where she had to leave her home. She was the one in the hotel for quite some time. I think it was 4 feet or more of sewage floating around in her basement as well. So we know that there is a serious problem with this. It came before me in the form of estimates. I held it at that particular time because I was not sure of the numbers, which was a typo of $50,000, I can say, because it's public record, it's on there anyway, and in a record of DOE that was straightened out, and the number is $25,000 in damages and hotel costs for her being out of house for quite some time. So as you all know, I want to update my colleagues before we go back to the DOE meeting at our next scheduled DOE meeting, and we should be able to pass that problem, but we will discuss it and make sure that that goes through, because we know what your hardship was and we know how long it's been. So with that being said, that will finish up my remarks. We will get ready to go into, we're going to take a 5-minute break, then we're going to get ready to go into our legislation session. So please hang around for our legislation session. Most likely a lot of folks like to leave, but it is the important part, just as important as the speaking session. So 5-minute break at this time. Thank you.
Oh, good, thank God. But I look downstairs. But isn't it starting again? Because we have it, that's your first reading again, doesn't it?
Yes.
It's not a second,
It's
it's
a-
a first reading. I had a discussion last night, but it wasn't what it was with the.
You said
No, I thought she was talking about the person.
Councilman Griffin. All right, can we, legislation and public notice?
And you, do we need a roll call?
No.
After.
After.
I think you have to consider.
Oh, you have to do that?
You press it like 20 times.
You said let's move on.
All right, please.
One is on the agenda, item number 2 is on the agenda, item number 3, actually number 2, 3, and 4 are on the agenda as item number 2. They've been combined into one item. Items 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 16, and 17 are called for. Items 18, 19, 21, 25, 26 are for information. Item 39 is held. Item 40 and 41 are called for. Item 42 is on the agenda. Item 43, 44, 59, and 60 are for information. Item 61 is called for. Item 62 is held. Item 63, 64, 65, 66 is for information. And I have an add-on, which is item
Number
number 5.
5.
Item number 5, and that's on the agenda. And we have a veto override. And that concludes my
Thank you. Human resources.
Thank you, Council President.
Item number 47 is called for. No, I have it right here. I did it on 2 separate ones, I'm sorry. Item number 48, 49, and 50 are on the agenda. Item number 51 is on the agenda. Item number 53 and 54 are called for. 56 and 57 are on the agenda. And do I have any add-ons? I don't think so, right now. Okay. That ends my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Public safety and codes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Items 13 and 14 are called for. Items 20 and 27 are for information. 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, and 38 are on the agenda. And number 52 is for information. And for the record, the police department has expressed in the past the difficulty getting their reimbursements. So sometimes they have difficulty with getting people to go on these trips. We need to speed up that process for them as well, because, you know, they put out their own money and it takes them several months to get reimbursed, and that can be a hardship sometimes. That completes my report. I wanted to put that on the record.
Thank you, Councilman. Finance and planning.
Thank you, Mr. President. Item number 6 is being called for. I'm sorry, 5 is being called for, 6 and 11 are for information, 12 is on the agenda, 22 is for information, 23 and 24 are being called for. Item 46 is for information, and 55, I don't see it on the agenda, so that will be called for. Thank you, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Councilman Griffin. And quick question, Councilman Griffin.
Yeah. Yes.
Could we, oh, that would have been a budgetary thing, but we put it in a budget.
But they have a budget for training, but they still have to put it out a lot ahead of time because of the length of time to get some conferences don't accept, vouchers, some do.
Right.
For payment. So the officers who go, and we need them to do this training, they, they have to put out their own money and use their personal credit cards. If we don't have it, there's no, official, card that you use for these things.
So we're
So
waiting for the controller to.
Right, it takes a long time for reimbursement. Even some of my colleagues, some of them takes I still wasn't reimbursed for some toner I bought last year, but I digress. That we needed for our copy machine in our office. For the record, as a reminder, maybe we could send that down here.
Yes.
But
You gotta read it. Roll call first. Let me get a roll call.
Councilwoman Copeland,
President.
Councilwoman Duarte,
President.
Councilwoman Parkinson,
President.
Councilman Griffin,
Here.
Council President Wallace.
Here. You get to read the veto into record first.
I read that before we, on the committee, veto is on
Legislation.
settlement, before she gets to the reading.
Okay, so legislation and public works.
Thank you, President Wallace. I have an ordinance proclaiming May 19th through the 25th, 2019 as National Public Works Week. So moved.
Second.
What's that? Number one. On the agenda. That's right. Oh, yeah.
18 seconds.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilwoman Copeland,
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte,
Aye.
Councilwoman Parkinson,
Aye.
Councilman Griffin,
Aye.
Council President Wallace.
Aye.
I have an ordinance granting permission to the Portuguese American Club to hold the St. Anthony Feast, St. John's Feast, and the annual Cup Feast on June 9th, June 23rd, and July 14th respectively. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
I guess I have a question, I'm sorry. Deputy Clerk Carter, or Clerk Brown, did we receive a response from the police department? I thought we were waiting for that.
Yes.
The Portuguese American Club?
Yes, you see the responses.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Copeland,
Aye. I'm trying to rush now, blah, blah, blah.
Councilwoman Duarte,
Aye.
Councilwoman Parkinson,
Aye.
Councilman Griffin, Council President Wallace.
Aye.
I have an ordinance granting permission to Rose Blanquisa to close Hawthorne Terrace between Lexington Avenue and Newford Avenue and Lentz Avenue to Columbus Avenue to hold a block party on August 31st with a rain date of September 1st. So moved. Second.
On the question?
Question, we are waiting for a response from the police department. Have you received that one?
Please. I think it was DPW. DPW, there was a consideration, Commissioner DPW is concerned that the two stages that's being requested, one of the stages, he really has to call people in all the time to get the stage, prepare it, and take it. And he is considering writing an amendment to this.
It's in section 5.
Right. He feels that it should be a charge, at least for the overtime when people come in to take care of that. So that might be an amendment coming forth concerning these matters.
Okay, it is written into the legislation that they need to be reimbursed for the overtime costs.
Okay.
Okay.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Copeland,
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte,
Aye.
Councilwoman Parkinson,
Aye.
Councilman Griffin,
Aye.
Council President Wallace.
Aye.
I have an ordinance granting permission to the Department of Recreation to co-sponsor City Fest with the Friends of Mount Vernon Arts Recreation and Youth Programs, Inc. on September 14th with a rain date of September 15th. So moved.
Second.
On the question?
Hearing none, roll call. Councilwoman Copeland?
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte?
Aye.
Councilwoman Farquharson?
Aye.
Councilman Griffith?
No.
Council President Wallace?
Aye.
Item number 5, I have an ordinance authorizing the office of the city clerk to accept funds from the New York State Office of the Comptroller in the amount of $3,481.44. So moved.
Second.
On the question?
On the question, do we know the basis of the amount for Bechtel?
No, we don't. Once we, if you look at the sheets on the add-on, this is what we can see. We couldn't see money amounts. Second page of that.
Okay, so we haven't seen the money turned out yet from each individual?
No, we just know that the one in reference to a EPW, it was because of a filming company. They owed us $780. They donated $780 towards the city to help repay the street. And DPW did not take the money, so it went up to the state. So we're reclaiming that money. But it was the leftovers when they were in town.
Okay.
Roll call. Councilwoman Copeland?
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte?
Aye.
Councilwoman Farquharson?
Aye.
Councilman Griffith?
Aye.
Council President Wallace?
Aye.
I am holding item number 6. And item number 7 is a veto override.
Okay.
But with regards to item number 6, wouldn't it be a first reading, not a
Yes.
second reading, because it's
Yes.
starting the process again?
Yes, it does not, you wouldn't
I mean,
act on it. Absolutely correct, Councilwoman. You wouldn't act on it, so there's not going to be a vote. So if you wanted to just read it for the first reading, you can. If not, you can choose, exercise your right to vote. But even if it comes back, we didn't break it for first reading, it will have to be read at that time for first reading.
Well, as committee chair, it's the first time I'm seeing it, and I was not aware that it was added to the agenda. And so, with all due respect, I'm holding it for tonight, until I'm able to speak with my council members and understand the circumstances in which this is now returned to be before us, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Prior to reading number 7. The mayor vetoed this item. We have a veto override.
We are over the 1 minute. Self-performance bond.
City Council President Wallace and members Copeland, Duarte, Farquharson, and Griffith. Reason, veto. Veto of Robin Peter to pay Paul funds transfers. Just fixed the budget already. Dear City Council President Wallace and members of City Council, Farquharson and Griffith, Copeland, Farquharson, Griffith, pursuant to the authority of me granted under Article 38 of the City Charter of the City of Mount Vernon, I am vetoing item number 3, an ordinance authorizing the transfer of funds within the 2019 adopted budget for local grant match for the storm water sanitary sewers EPA compliance project on the City Council meeting agenda for Friday, April 12th. The move simply robs Peter to pay Paul. It's beyond comprehensive as to why you continue to willfully reject the budget of olive branch that has been repeatedly extended for the past few years, and specifically it relates to the current budget since September 2018. For ready reference, my letter dated March 4, 2019, titled Another Budget Our Branch Options to Satisfy Environmental Mandates but Better Serve the People of the City of Mount Vernon is attached. By simply changing the assumptions with the 1.93 tax rate will allow the city to better comply with all of our environmental mandates, including the cleanup of Memorial Field, DPW yard, and fixing the broken sewers. The New York Times reports that bitter government infighting and may have contributed to the speculation, scrutiny, blunder, and the Sri Lankan Easter terrorist attacks which led to the deaths of hundreds of innocent souls seeking refuge in church during one of the most holy days.
What the? Really? I'm sorry. This is just ignorant.
My repeated and
For the record, it's ignorant.
my repeated and at times blunt warning on the consequences of environmental defiance have been met with more bitter and willful defiance by the City Council. Your deliberate actions to have literally caused the Department of Justice to sue Mount Vernon, seeking virtually $1 billion in penalties. Why continue to deny the essential needs of the people? Why continue to obstruct environmental compliance? Solve the problem by simply adopting the correct budget assumptions so that we can protect the people of Mount Vernon, protect the taxpayers, and most importantly, protect environmental years to come. Okay, with that being read, according to the charter number 38 that the mayor is referring to, the city council, the orders of the city council shall be typewritten, printed immediately after its passage, shall be signed by the president of the city council and attested by the clerk. The clerk shall thereupon present the same to the mayor, noting the date of delivery. If the mayor approves it, he shall sign it and return it to the clerk, and the orders shall thereupon take effect. If he disapproves it, it shall be returned to the clerk with his objection stated in writing, and the clerk shall present the same with such objections to the city council at its next regular meeting. The city council may, within 30 days thereafter, reconsider the same if such consideration of forfeits of all its members of the city council shall vote to pass the ordinance. The same shall take effect, notwithstanding the objections of the mayor. So the mayor has vetoed your legislation, and according to the charter, is presented to you at this time for your action to move forward or to hold it. That is your choice. And now you can move on, Councilman.
Thank you, Clerk Brown. So I have an ordinance authorizing the transfer of funds within the 2019 adopted budget for the appropriation of a local grant match for the stormwater and sanitation sewer EPA compliance project. So moved.
Second.
On the question, Councilman Griffin?
I yield my question to Councilwoman Duarte.
Thank you.
On the question?
On the question, I don't have a question, but I do have some comments that I want on the record.
Please.
And for the, before I do, and I hope my council members will indulge me, I want to read the legislation into the record. It states, whereas the city of Mount Vernon has been sued by the federal government, the Environmental Protection Agency.
Wait, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think, don't the comments come and then when you're ready to vote, that's when you read the legislation, if I'm not mistaken, but
Is that
maybe I'm mistaken.
order? I'm sorry, is that order?
Yes, but on the question, were you giving specific comments?
I do have specific comments, so shall I make those first and then read it into the record at the time of voting?
Yes.
Fair enough. I want to put on the record and for the public that may be viewing this, I want to state the following. The DPW commissioner requested of this council that monies be transferred into a budget line to fund the 25% match in order to unlock the $1.6 million grant for the repair of our stores. letter dated March 5th, 2019, the DPW Commissioner identified several sewer locations in need of immediate repair and are eligible for the funding under this grant, including the recent collapse at Cottage and Prospect Avenues. In a letter dated April 4, 2019, the City Council requested that the DPW Commissioner and the Comptroller identify budget lines to execute this transfer. During the City Council's committee meeting on April 8, 2019, the Mayor shared that he has implemented a new policy in which his commissioners are not authorized to respond to or communicate with the City Council. Since the City Council received no response from the DPW Commissioner, from the Office of the Mayor, and from the Office of the Comptroller, we identified the funding lines ourselves. The funding is as follows. We identified approximately $250,000 in the DPW budget, which was already allocated for sewers or for engineering services which would be needed for sewer repairs. These funds have been reallocated in order to help unlock this grant. The City Council contributed $87,500 out of its own budget to unlock this grant, and $35,000 in the law department specific to the issuance of bonds was reallocated to unlock this grant. And I identify that line, and it's important because since we have lost our credit rating, there is no need to have any funds allocated for the issuance of bonds. And finally, we referenced $37,982, which represents less than 4% of the contingency fund to complete the 25% match. Should there be a need that arises at any time during this year that one of these lines needs to be replenished, the City Council will always consider doing that. But we will also need the cooperation of the executive branch of both the Office of the Mayor and his administration, as well as the Office of the Comptroller, to identify these funds in order to do that. I am deeply disappointed in the Mayor's decision to veto this legislation and the Mayor's lack of cooperation and his unwillingness to constructively address Mount Vernon's top priorities with the City Council. I am also dismayed that in the Mayor's veto letter, the Mayor made comments that were out of line and quite frankly lack dignity for the Office of the Mayor and for the other institutions of our city government. I want to say I am grateful that the City Council has stepped up to lead to resolve this matter, that we support this legislation unanimously, which is in compliance with our duty to the people of Mount Vernon and with the city's obligations to the Environmental Protection Agency. And honestly, since this matter is subject to ongoing litigation with the Department of Justice and with the EPA, I will refrain from making further comment other than thanking my City Council members for their support in moving this legislation. And that concludes my remarks that I want to put on the record. Thank you.
Just for one more time, how much money did the council take out of their budget?
$87,500.
Legislative.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman.
I just want to say that I see this piece of legislation as a stellar example of collaboration within the council. I think that, that there was definitely intentional work done by all of us as a group to move this forward. So I'm really proud of the work that we've done. Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't want to say the name, so I was.
Councilwoman.
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. President. I would say that I recall when we were voting on the budget, we said that throughout the year, which is our responsibility, that we can transfer funds when we deem possible to keep the city moving. And we've done that for a couple of positions, I believe in planning and maybe 2 positions in planning, if I'm not mistaken. And once the budget is passed for this body, even if it's the same amount, I don't think there's as far as my recollection, not really an avenue to change it other than us transferring of funds, because that's our role here in this body. Once this body adopts a budget, we cannot then alter revenues. We can't alter revenues, and we can't do it. That's not within our authority. So I'd like to thank the councilwoman for leading on this, and all of us for supporting this legislation. And with those sewer things, we need to access this money, because it certainly is a situation that we don't want to see get worse. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilman Griffin.
Well, I'm just going to say that I'm going to refrain because I'm tempted to respond to that infantile letter that was written by the mayor. And what highly disturbs me is that he would invoke the bombings that were done in Sri Lanka on Easter and relate that to our sewer system issue. It's just disgusting how this mayor tries to run this city. And and for him to veto the one issue that we have had for years through the Department of Justice, now that the funding is in place, after we went through a difficult budget process, for him to veto the legislation is just purely irresponsible for him as the mayor. And this should be an example to the courts to show them that this mayor does not have an interest in fixing our sewer system. This council hasn't only passed this legislation, but we purchased major equipment. The sewer trucks and the camera trucks were purchased directly to fix the problem with the sewer system. And I'm tired of this council not getting the credit due for the work that we do to move the city forward. It is the mayor that is holding this city up. And it's embarrassing because when you go to other communities, they feel for us. And they want to know why we're not progressing like other communities are. And I can say it is not this council. It is this mayor that is leading the delay of progress. I can't wait until June 25th. So I'm not going to comment anymore. This council's done great work. We've put the numbers together in a responsible way, a financial responsible way, considering the budget issue that we had. And I'm going to continue to do the work that we need to do to move forward. And we need to find a way to avoid this mayor's infantile letter writing and decision making. And it's a shame that his commissioners are following his lead in quotes, because he's not a leader. And the commissioners need to step out and do more. And I'm glad the commissioners are continuing to talk to us, despite his command to not have them talk to us. It is purely irresponsible. And come election time, justice needs to be served on the mayor of Mount Vernon. He needs to be fired. It's as simple as that. So thank you. Let's vote.
Thank you, Bo. I got something now.
Oh,
thank you,
Mr. President, do you have any comments?
All right. Yes, thank you so much, General. But yeah, first of all, I'd like to commend this council for the work they did putting this all together. And, you know, if many people don't see, what I see is the commitment that we took money out of our own budget and we're sacrificing to make sure that the community gets what it needs. So that's one thing, to give up our own legislative aid position to use that funding to make sure that this goes through is a big step in showing people that we are not here to stop anything. We are not obstructionists as we are always made out to be. I find something else very ironic, that the mayor complained and he put out many things about the Wallace Reynolds budget and the council not giving money and the whole shebang with that. And then when we find the money, after he doesn't find it and put it to use, he vetoes it. It's the same situation that, you know, that we see over and over and over, just like the URA. He complains about we didn't audit, we didn't fund, we didn't do this, we didn't do that. We fund it and we have to take him to court to get him to let the auditors in. And you know, it just goes on and on and on. So I understand what you're saying, Councilman Griffin, as well as everyone else, but this situation is serious, and we just have to continue to do what we're doing with good legislation. We know that we have challenges with the budget, and we will continue to do the work that the administration is not doing. ensure that we do not lose this grant and we can move forward with getting a lot of the sewers fixed with this $2 million. So, as you see earlier with many of the people who came in and spoke tonight about their sewer systems and basements being backed up, this would go a long way to make sure that we can help them, including the sinking streets we have, and we should be able to attend to that immediately with this funding. So, with that being said, roll call.
Roll call on number 7.
Roll call on number 7. Count. Oh, did you read it? It wasn't there. Okay, good.
So the legislation reads as follows. Whereas the city of Mount Vernon has been sued by the federal government, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the New York State's Department of Environmental Conservation for allegedly violating the Clean Water Act. And whereas the City Council deems it necessary and proper to protect the interest of the people of the city of Mount Vernon. And whereas the City Council has already allocated $100,000 for equipment in Budget Code A8120.203, which is in the DPW sanitary and storm sewers, for the purchase of a catch basin vehicle in order to comply with the New York State DEC MS4 permit. And whereas in 2016, the City of Mount Vernon was awarded a water quality improvement project grant from the New York State DEC in the amount of $1,641,928. The City Council authorizes the mayor to accept the $1,641,928 in the WQIP grant to be used solely for the implementation of the water improvement projects as identified in the municipal sanitary sewer and separate storm sewer systems water quality improvement grant MS4 illicit discharge project, which is project number C00389GG work plan. A copy of the work plan shall be kept in the office of the city clerk. And whereas the City Council authorizes and directs the comptroller to establish an account for expenditures and reimbursement of the $1,641,928 project grant toward the improvement of our stormwater systems. And whereas a 25% of local matching funds in the amount of $410,482 is required to be set aside in order to receive the water quality improvement project grant. The City Council authorizes and directs the comptroller to establish a new escrow account for the implementation of the municipal sanitary sewer and separate storm sewer URA water quality improvement grant MS4 illicit discharge project work plan. And whereas the City Council has requested that the Office of the Mayor identify funds to be used toward the local match grant, and whereas the Mayor has not identified funds to be used towards the local match grant, and whereas the City Council, due to the lack of forthcoming cooperation from the Office of the Mayor, has determined that the local match can be funded from funds available as follows. $87,500 in the City Council salary line in unused funds, and $35,000 in the Law Department bond issue budget line, and $50,000 in DPW's engineering office and DPW's sanitary, and $200,000 in DPW's sanitary and storm sewers budget lines, and $37,982 in the contingency fund. Now therefore be it resolved that the City of Mount Vernon and the City Council convene thus hereby ordain and enact Section 1 for the municipal sanitary sewer and separate storm sewer system water quality improvement grant MS4 illicit discharge project C00389GG work plan. The City Council hereby authorizes and the acceptance of $1,641,928 in the New York State DEC water quality improvement project grant. Section 2, the comptroller is hereby authorized and directed to establish an account for expenditures and reimbursements of the aforesaid grant dollars of $1,641,928. in the Department of Public Works, Sanitary and Storm Sewers 2019 budget. Section 3, the comptroller is hereby authorized and directed to establish a separate account and transfer into escrow the amount of $410,482 to cover the 25% matching funds required by the Water Quality Improvement Project grant awarded to the City of Mount Vernon. And finally, Section 4, funds for the aforesaid not to exceed $410,482, and they are available as follows: $87,500 in City Council unused salary budget line, $35,000 in the Law Department's bond issue line, $50,000 in DPW's engineering office contracted outside service line, $200,000 in DPW's sanitary and storm sewers contracted outside service line, and $37,982 in the contingent fund. Section 5, this ordinance shall take effect upon its approval by the Board of Estimate and Contract. Thank you for letting me read that into the record. I think it's important to have that in contrast to the mayor's letter. Thank you.
Roll call. Roll call on number 7. Councilwoman Copeland.
Aye. Can we read it again? No, I'm just kidding.
Councilwoman Duarte.
Aye.
Councilwoman Farquharson.
Aye.
Councilman Griffith.
Aye.
Council President Wallace.
Aye. Human Resources.
Thank you, Council President. I have an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Career Visions Limited for the Strong Program. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call. Councilwoman Copeland.
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte.
Aye.
Councilwoman Farquharson.
Aye.
Councilman Griffith.
Aye.
Council President Wallace. Aye.
Thank you. I have an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an intermunicipal agreement with Westchester County Youth Bureau for various programs. So moved.
Second.
On the question?
On the question, I'd like to commend our youth bureau. It has been one of the top in terms of securing funding for our youth and youth programs in this county and probably in the state of New York. So I want to say that for the record.
Thank you. Roll call. Councilwoman Copeland.
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte.
Aye.
Councilwoman Farquharson.
Aye.
Councilman Griffith.
Aye.
Council President Wallace. Aye.
I have an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept funds from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, SAMHSA. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Anna. Roll call. Councilwoman Copeland.
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte.
Aye.
Councilwoman Farquharson.
Aye.
Councilman Griffith.
Aye.
Council President Wallace. Aye.
I have an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Inside Street Media LLC for Youth Bureau Summer Program advertisements. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Roll call. Councilwoman Copeland.
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte.
Aye.
Councilwoman Farquharson.
Aye.
Councilman Griffith.
Aye.
Council President Wallace. Aye.
I have an ordinance proclaiming May 5th through the 11th, 2019 as the City of Mount Vernon Emotional Wellness Week. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Roll call. Councilwoman Copeland.
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte.
Aye.
Councilwoman Farquharson.
Aye.
Councilman Griffith.
Aye.
Council President Wallace. Aye. Public safety and code.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have ordinance number 13, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an intermunicipal agreement for the 2018 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program. So moved. Second.
On the question?
On the question, our police department is also very good in obtaining grants. For the record, I'd like to commend them as well.
Thank you. Roll call. Councilwoman Copeland.
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte,
Aye.
Councilwoman Farquharson,
Aye.
Councilman Griffith,
Aye.
Council President Wallace.
Aye.
Ordinance number 14, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a use and dissemination agreement between the city of Mount Vernon, New York, State Police, and Westchester County, the city of Mount Vernon, New York State Police, and Westchester County Department of Public Safety. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Roll call.
Councilwoman Copeland,
Comments make a difference. Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte,
Aye.
Councilwoman Farquharson,
Aye.
Councilman Griffith,
Aye.
Council President Wallace.
Aye.
I have ordinance number 15, an ordinance granting permission for 2 members of the police department to attend the Glock Armorer course. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Roll call.
Councilwoman Copeland,
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte,
Aye.
Councilwoman Farquharson,
Aye.
Councilman Griffith,
Aye.
Council President Wallace.
Aye.
I have ordinance number 16, an ordinance granting permission for 2 members of the police department to attend the Supervisor Leadership Institute. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Roll call.
Guess there's no question.
You just want to write it into
Councilwoman Copeland,
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte,
Aye.
Councilwoman Farquharson,
Aye.
Councilman Griffith,
Aye.
Council President Wallace.
Aye.
I have ordinance number 17, an ordinance granting permission for 4 members of the police department to attend the Sniper Observer School. So moved.
Second.
On the question?
On the question, do they just observe the snipers? Or are they snipers that are observed? Never mind.
We'll find out when we get the report.
Anyone else? Roll call.
Councilwoman Copeland,
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte,
Aye.
Councilwoman Farquharson,
Aye.
Councilman Griffith,
Aye.
Council President Wallace.
Aye.
I have ordinance number 18, an ordinance granting permission for 2 members of the police department to attend the Executive Leadership Institute. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Roll call.
Now it's like Jeopardy, right? Now you go like Jeopardy.
Councilwoman Copeland,
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte,
Aye.
Councilwoman Farquharson,
Aye.
Councilman Griffith,
Aye.
Council President Wallace.
Aye.
I have ordinance number 19, an ordinance granting permission for 2 members of the police department to attend the lethal instructor course. So moved.
Second.
On the question?
On the question, I really want to report on what this course is about. What is the legal?
Lethal.
Instructor. This is
Lethal force, deadly force.
What
That's
is
the
that?
force.
Well, what kind of instructor?
That's the police officer.
I would love. to-
Okay, we'll ask for a report.
Yes.
Right, Councilwoman?
Absolutely.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Copeland,
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte,
Aye.
Councilwoman Farquharson,
Aye.
Councilman Griffith,
Aye.
Council President Wallace.
Aye.
And I have ordinance number 20. Oh, I'm not done. I should have said and. There's a lot more to go. Ordinance number 20, an ordinance granting permission for 2 members of the police department to attend the Remington 870-700 Armorer course. I'm not saying it. Armorer.
You're the right.
Course. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Roll call.
Councilwoman Copeland,
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte,
Aye.
Councilwoman Farquharson,
Aye.
Councilman Griffith,
What's a Emerson? Aye.
What's a what?
Remington?
it's a rifle.
It's a gun.
It's a rifle. And Council President Wallace.
Aye.
And Ilion, New York is very nice that time of year. Now I have ordinance number 21.
Just for the record, Councilwoman Griffith, once we're past the question, we're past the question.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome.
have ordinance number 21, there they go, in the blah blah. An ordinance granting permission for 2 members of the police department to attend the road rescue course. So moved.
Second.
On the question, hearing none, roll call.
On the question, why are we rescuing ropes?
Councilman Griffin, with all due respect, these may come in, it may be a situation where they need this kind of training, we hope not.
He
but they will be
knows.
prepared.
He knows.
You have the officer back there.
Roll call.
He goes on the question here none.
Councilwoman Copeland.
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ferguson.
Aye.
Councilman Griffin.
Aye.
Council President Wallace.
I have ordinance number 22. 22 is good enough. An ordinance granting permission for 2 members of the police department to attend the Colt Armorer School. So moved.
Second.
Sounds fun.
On the question, hearing none, roll call.
Councilwoman Copeland.
Aye.
I'm sorry, which one was that?
22.
Councilwoman Duarte.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ferguson.
Aye.
Councilman Griffin.
Aye.
Council President Wallace.
Aye.
Hempstead is next time. Finally, number 23, Michael Jordan, an ordinance grant, oh, my thing's not going down. Ordinance number 23, an ordinance granting permission for 2 members of the police department to attend the Heckler and Koch, no, it could be Coach because it's the type of, but that's all right. Armor School. So moved.
Second.
On the question, hearing none, roll call.
Councilwoman Copeland.
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ferguson.
Aye.
Councilman Griffin.
Aye.
Council President Wallace.
Aye. Finance and planning.
Thank you, Mr. President. I notice authorizing the mayor to
Sorry, couldn't get.
I have an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Unicity Software Consulting Associates. So moved.
Second.
On the question, hearing none, roll
On the
call.
question, what is this entail, Councilman Griffin?
It's an assessment software.
Oh, thank you so much for that clarification.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Copeland.
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ferguson.
Aye.
Councilman Griffin.
Aye.
Council President Wallace.
Aye.
Human resources.
Human resources.
Thank you, Council President. So I have an ordinance authorizing the transfer of funds from the Office of the Mayor to the Civil Service Commission. So moved.
Second.
On the question,
Let me just say for the record, Mr. President, that we identified these funds because when discussion was being held about funding the URA audit, the mayor provided us a detailed letter with possible sources of funds that could be used to fund the audit. Based on that directive from the mayor, I thought it was pertinent that we could also use that money, seeing that the URA audit is already funded differently, to fund some other necessary things that were not addressed in the budget, including outstanding debt for the Civil Service Department, where training was done in the past that was not paid for, exams were proctored that were not paid, and for the testing for the fire department that's pending for this year, fire and police. So I think it's really appropriate that the mayor identified this funding and that's available to be used in other departments that need it. So thank you, Mr. President.
anyone?
Mayor?
Yes.
Just for the record, there was legislation adopted last year that transferred funds to fund the fire department's training exams, and that legislation was adopted also by the Board of Estimate, but not executed by the Comptroller's Office, which is why we still have this issue now rolling over into share. So I just wanted to put that on record.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilwoman Duarte, good question. So that money wasn't used. Do we know where it is?
That was from contingency.
From contingency last year?
Yeah, that was from contingency. It was identified from contingency. And we, but it was not honored because we have that history. I think this will be different because it's not identifying the funds from contingency.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Councilwoman Parkinson, for putting that together and making sure that that happens, because it's very important. And thank the mayor for identifying those funds for us so that we can have extra additional funds to move around for things on behalf of the city. So, thank you so much.
Roll call.
Roll call. Councilwoman Copeland?
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ferguson?
Aye.
Councilman Griffith? Aye. Council President Wells? Aye.
Council President, if I may, there are two things I'd like to put on the record. One is that the city clerk and I met with the Commissioner of DPW last week to request that an RFP be prepared and distributed for the removal of the dirt for Memorial Field. I had a discussion last Sunday with the Deputy County Executive, and the recommendation is that we use the DEC approved remediation plan as our scope of work, as it is already approved by the DEC, and it documents in details what needs to happen for this mound to be removed. So using that as our scope of work, we've requested the Commissioner of DPW prepare the RFP. I know that the bid. And so I know that the city clerk's office has, moved towards using technology or implementing technology to help with that process. But I just wanted to be documented that that was done last week. The other thing is that I'm having serious troubles with my city email. Things are disappearing. I'm sending mail that's not being received. I send it multiple times, it's not being received. Attachments are it is just the most bizarre thing that's happening. I just had the deputy clerk watch me send an email to her that she still has not received. And so that's what happened to the environmental legislation, Councilman Griffith. I sent it several times to Linda Gears, and it was not received. I believed it was received. I didn't hear it, I find out that it was not received. But I sent it at least twice, and it was not received. So, and that was again what I tried to forward to our deputy clerk. And so something bizarre is going on with my email. Very, very bizarre. Last week, Sunday, I did the same thing. After I spoke with the deputy county executive, I sent a detailed, like a long email documenting the whole process. And it never arrived. It still hasn't arrived. And it's not in my sent mail. So it's the most bizarre thing that I think needs to be addressed. So, thank you very much.
Okay, well, that is why I chose to use a Gmail address made up for my city address. So this way we don't have a problem because I was never getting anything. So.
But as you recall, we've all been to some NICOM training, and they say that we should use a city email. And I get mine, but sometimes it's a day or two late, and you all say you sent it, but I don't see it at the time when it comes up. But for the record, for official, so that means that anything that comes in your Gmail is forwardable if you use that as your official.
Yeah, they can add it, because I just did, like Councilman Wallace said, City of Mount Vernon at Gmail. At least it gets to me. Before, nothing was getting to me at all. And as you see, nothing is getting to Councilwoman Parkinson either. Just to go back,
one more thing. Oh, you want to respond to?
Yes, I want to respond to her first thing on Memorial Field. If you may graciously report back to our county legislator who continues to write this stuff on Facebook that we are doing our job and that the bid is being put together and it is moving forward. So.
I'll write a letter.
Yes, please write a letter to inform him that we are doing our job and everything is under go. So-
Yes, he sent a letter today also, Council. I didn't get a chance to forward it to you because of
We
the,
got it in our email. If it's the same letter.
It's the same letter
the legislator he sent.
again.
Okay, I'll respond.
Yes, please answer them. So this way, the Facebook, Twitter stuff and the whole big thing can stop. Thank you.
And one thing I'd like to report, back in, I can't remember, a few months ago, it was brought to my attention by Westchester, I'm trying to remember so many groups, Sustainable Westchester, that they had a video contest for high school students where they get a monetary amount. And 4 teams from Mount Vernon High School did complete the contest. I'm not sure who won yet, but I just wanted, they must have won because they invited us to the ceremony on Saturday, May 18th at 10 a.m. So I'll forward it to the clerk so it'll be on the schedule. So, you know, things do happen when you go to these conferences and then you speak to the principal and you forward stuff. So I want to put that on record. The email just popped up while we were sitting here. Look at you. No, it did. They said it.
Don't be jealous.
I just want to add a comment in regards to the emails, because I have been sending communications to the clerk and the deputy clerk and been getting returned responses. So there are issues with the server or with the email system in general, because some things seem to be going through, but not everything.
Yeah.
And so, I've not received that email that you just referred to, Councilman Ferguson, so I'm not really sure what's happening.
Okay, good. That is your committee, I believe, Management Services?
I will tomorrow, because this was a discussion I just had this afternoon with Clerk Brown.
Yep.
So tomorrow I will follow up with them.
Okay, perfect. And also, I wanted to remind everyone that we have our honorary session coming up. So I guess our next council meeting. So I would say let's all get in our honoraries for the next council session. Does that work for you, Deputy Clerk Carter? We should be able to have enough time. Okay. All right, please send all your honoraries by the way, so that we can get that show. All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Motion to adjourn now.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Copeland,
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte,
Aye.
Councilwoman Ferguson,
Aye.
Councilwoman Griffith,
Aye.
Council President Wallace.
Aye. This meeting is now adjourned.